Hey everybody, this is the circulatory system. We're going to go over the major arteries and veins of the body. Arteries are shown in red because they carry oxygenated blood away from the heart, and veins are in blue because they bring deoxygenated blood back to the heart. So we're going to get right into it. From the heart here, you see we have our aorta, which is the part of the heart that pumps blood out. It's a little more complicated than that, but off our aorta, there's our brachiocephalic trunk, our subclavian artery, comes down to our axillary artery, and that armpit region, our brachial artery. Our brachial artery, you can see, branches off into our, there we go, our ulnar and radial arteries. Then you have your palmar arches. Okay, so off of the subclavian up here, we can see we have our common carotid artery, which branches off into our internal and external carotid arteries, bringing blood to the brain. And then as we go down, we have our descending thoracic aorta and our abdominal aorta. And that's kind of where we're going to focus right now. In our abdominal aorta, you can see here in this area, we have something called our celiac trunk that has three major arteries. Our splenic artery carries blood to the spleen, left gastric carries blood to the stomach, and our common hepatic, which carries blood to the liver. From there, we have our superior mesenteric just underneath of there, and our inferior mesenteric, which both bring blood to the intestines. And then if we move around here, you can see we have our renal arteries, which carry blood to the kidneys. Okay, so from our abdominal aorta branches off into our common iliac artery, which branches into our external and internal iliac arteries. Our external iliac artery will follow that down to our femoral artery, and a lot of these are named after the bones that they run by. So our femoral artery, femur, we have a deep femoral artery, and our femoral artery comes down into our popliteal artery behind the knee, and then that one branches into our anterior tibial artery, and there's our fibular artery. It also branches into our fibular artery. So anterior and, let's see if I can get it, there we go, posterior tibial arteries, which just means front and back of the tibia. So those are the major arteries of the body. Let's trace blood back from the arteries. It goes through capillaries, exchanges its oxygen and nutrients, and then comes back to the heart deoxygenated. So we'll start with our veins now. So we have our great saphenous vein, which goes up the entire medial length of the leg. Our great saphenous vein, and then our, here we go, small saphenous vein. We also have, just like with arteries, we have posterior and anterior tibial arteries, and we have a fibular artery. It's kind of hard to select in this program, but it's right there next to the fibular vein, next to the fibular artery. Comes up to our popliteal vein, very much like artery as well. Our popliteal moves up into our femoral vein. Our femoral vein comes up to our external, there's our deep femoral vein, and there we go, external iliac vein. And we also have an internal iliac vein, just like with the arteries, which comes into our common iliac vein. This is where veins and arteries get a little different, however. This time we have our inferior vena cava instead of aorta. So we have our inferior vena cava that drains our organs of the abdomen. So we have our renal veins that drain the kidneys. So you can see there and there. We have our splenic vein, drains the spleen. We'll come around here. It's kind of confusing in here. We'll just hit these big ones. We have our superior mesenteric vein and our inferior mesenteric vein that drain the intestines, and then Here you saw that one, and our, yeah, renal veins. There we go. Then it comes up into our hepatic veins, which, of course, drain the liver. Okay, so now if we go back up, so now starting from the heart, now blood is draining into the heart, but we'll just start from the heart this time. So in our upper extremities, we have our brachiocephalic vein, which comes our subclavian vein, which turns into our axillary vein, and it becomes our basilic vein. This is where it's a little different from arteries. So we have our basilic vein, our medial brachial vein, and our cephalic veins in the arm. And they come down and they branch off into our ulnar and radial veins. Those are actually kind of hard to find on this model. And so I'm not going to select them, but they follow similar paths to the arteries, but we have ulnar and radial veins. So if we come back up here to our subclavian, we have external and an internal jugular veins that drain blood from the brain. And those are the major arteries and veins of the body and the path that blood flows from the heart and then back to the heart. And so it's very important to understand the circulatory system because it's what brings us oxygen and allows us to live. So it is very important. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, thank you.